Squidward suicide. I just want to start off by saying that if you want an answer to the end, prepare to be disappointed. There isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course. Most internships aren't. But it did have a perk beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would go crazy over it. Since I worked directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. I'll get right into it without giving too many unnecessary details. They had very recently made the SpongeBob movie.
I'm SpongeBob!
The entire staff was so much sapped out of creativity, so it took them longer to start the season. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back several months. Me and two other interns in the editing room, along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut of an episode, we received the copy that was supposed to be a fear of the Krabby Patty and gathered around the screen to watch. Now, given that the final cut isn't final yet, animators often put a mock title card at the beginning. It's sort of an inside joke for us, with phony offense times and loop titles being used, such as "How 6 doesn't work" instead of "Bye Valve," in which SpongeBob and Patrick try to adopt a sea scallop. Nothing particularly funny, just work-related chuckles. So when we saw the title card, Squidward suicide, we didn't think it was more than a morbid joke. One of the other interns did a small throw laugh at it. The episode started with happy-go-lucky music playing as normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside. Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down. As he has a concert that night and needs to practice, SpongeBob says it's okay, and he goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The bubble splash screens up. God damn it. The bubble splash screen comes up, and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things began to seem off. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. It's supposed to be synced with the animation, so yes, that's not common. But when Squidward stops playing, the sound finishes.
Oh my god.
As if the skip never happened. There's a slight murmur. Fuck. Shit, my bad. Where was I? Oh, here we go. There's a slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not the normal cartoon booing that's common in the show, mind you. You could clearly hear malice in it. Okay. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd of SpongeBob center frame. He is too booing, which is very much unlike him. It isn't the oddest thing though. What's odd is that everyone has hyper-realistic eyes. All very detailed, clearly not shots of real people's eyes, but something a bit more real than CGI. Pupils are red, some of us looked at each other obviously confused, but since we weren't the writers, we didn't really question its appeal to children yet. Oh, but of course, when fucking little Timbo goes to go see SpongeBob sprung out of water and he sees big red eyes from SpongeBob, he goes, I fucking love this shit. The shot goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his porthole window is a night sky, so it is very long after the concert. The unsettling part is that at this point, there's no sound, literally zero sound. I get the feedback from the speakers in the room. It's as if the speakers were turned off through their statuses show them working perfectly. Okay. Squidward just sits there in silence, blinking for about 30 seconds, then starts to sob softly. He puts his hands, in parentheses, spectacles, over his eyes and cries quietly for a full minute more. All the while, a sound in the background is gradually growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounds like a slight breeze through a forest. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slowly, I mean that it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 seconds apart, side by side. What's the point of adding that? Okay, if his sobbing gets louder and more full of hurt and the anger, the screen then twitches a bit as if it twists on itself for a split second before going back to the normal. The wind through the trees, the sound gets louder and more severe as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is that the sound in Squidward's sobbing sounded real. It was like it wasn't coming from the speakers, that the speakers themselves were holes, and that the sound was traveling through from the other side. As good as the sound studio likes to have, they don't have the equipment to be able to produce that audio quality. Okay. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faintly audible, something sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals, and never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it. We watched this episode twice, so pardon me if it sounds too specific, but I've had some time to think about them. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over it, as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and reran frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't be more than 6, his face mangled and bloody, one eye dangling over a pump. He was... Not reading that, why the... Okay, I'm not reading that. His stomach is clearly cut open and his entrails sprayed up beside him. He was laying on some pavement, and that was probably a road. The most upsetting part was there was a shadow of the photographer, but no crime tape, evidence tags or markers, and the angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It would seem that the person responsible for the child's death. We were of course mortified, but pressed on hoping that it was just a sick joke.
Are you fucking...
You can tell that this is like an early, like, creepypasta story, because the fucking, like, person who's supposed to be telling the story has the IQ of, like, fucking Aiden Ross. You're just looking at the screen, sees dead child fucking murdered, splattered all over the screen.
Oh my god.
Fucking sick joke, Lamau. Okay. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing louder than before. Out of his body in the frame, there is now what appeared to be blood running over his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, looking as if you'd get it on your fingers if you touched the screen. The wind sounded now as if it was that gale blowing through the forest. There were weird snapping sounds like of branches. The laughing, a deep baritone, lasted for longer intervals and came from more frequently, about 20 seconds. The screen twisted and showed a single frame photo. The editor was reluctant to look back. We all were, but he had to know the time. The photo appeared to be a little girl no older than the first child. She was laying on her stomach, her barrettes in a pool, with blood next to her. Her left eye was damaged and the same as the boy, and she was...
excuse me, what the actual fuck?
Okay. I'm gonna put like a text thing saying why I'm not reading that. You can fucking tell this is an old story anyways. Her entrails were piled on top of her above another crude cut along her back. Again, the body was on the street of the photographer's shadow was visible. Very similar in size and shape to the first. They had to choke back the vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. The show resumed. Sorry, I just had to take a break from reading this. It's an awesome story. Here we go. About 5 seconds after the second photo played, Squidward went silent. All sound cut out, like it did when the scene started. He put his tentacles down, and his eyes were now done in hyper-realism like the others were at the beginning of the episode. They were bleeding and bloodshot and pulsating. He just stared at the screen, as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and the most fear-inducing thing of all was the sobbing was mixed with his screams. Continuing. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The sound came back, and so did the deep voice laughing, this time with a still photo that lasted for a good 5 frames. The animator was able to stop on the 4th and backed up. This time it was a photo of a boy out, about the same age, but the scene was different. His entrails were being pulled out from his stomach, wounded by a large hand, and the right eye popped out and dangling, blood trickling down. The animator proceeded. The next frame. Hold on, sorry. So I'll stop quick. Thank God he didn't specify that this child was also. By the way, the reason I haven't been reading it is because all the children that he fucking describes, for some reason, he puts in detail, they were all half naked. Just not. They still had their underwear on, though. This is what I'm saying. It's fucking weird. That's some weird shit. Anyways. The next frame was different, and, I already read that. Here we go. We saw the hands slowly lift out the guts. We saw the kid's eyes focus on it. We even saw 2 frames at the beginning to blink. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived within 15 minutes. He was confused to ask why he had been called down, so the editor just continued the episode. Squiddy was just staring at the viewer, his face taking up the full frame of 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned out. That deep voice said, "Do it," and we saw shock in Squiddy's hands. Okay. He immediately put the gun to his mouth.
Oh my god.
Realistic blood and brain matter showing the wall behind him in his bed as he flies back with force. The last 5 seconds of this episode shows his bloody, his body on the bed on its side, one eye dangling from what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it. The episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously very angry about this. He didn't know what the hell was going on. Most of the people left the room at this point, so there's just a handful of us left to watch it again. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind and caused me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. I'm sorry, I know the point of this is, for me to make fun of it. But again, why would you watch it a second? Why would you be like, okay. Dead children? Squidward grabbing a fucking shotgun and then blowing his face off. Yeah, let's watch this second time. The only theory you could think of is that the file had been edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio in here. The CTO was called in to find out what happened. Analysis of the file didn't show it was a mix of new material. However, the timestamp of the changes was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware as well as glitches, such as timestamps was showing us the wrong time. But everything checked out fine. We didn't know what happened. And to this day, nobody does. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing ever came of it. No child scene was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved, nor physical clues from the photos. I never believed in unexplainable phenomena before, but now that I've had something to happen to me, and can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence, I think twice about things. Yeah, so